Hey everyone, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. We're going to be talking about the ultimate weapons, how do you get them, and also which ones you should be going for first. It's a very clear cut here when I tell you that you should go for the ones of the characters you're using. If your DPS is on the team, always the healer you use is always the same healer, you should be going for their ultimate weapon because it gives you stats and it gives them the utility to change the tides. There's no reason to go for a character that you only use once in a while or nothing at all. Another thing to take in consideration, hard English, is that new characters are coming out. There's still Sid, Angeal, Genesis, any of the Turks they want to bring out. There is more and more happening. There's a little bit of rumors of another character coming soon, so you always want to hold off on 100 of those tokens so you can exchange the newer characters when they come out if you're looking forward to them. Also, just use them. They're going to give more. This is the beginning. They are going to be pretty rare on the harder quests, but for the most part, we got 2 off the bat, which is out of 13 characters. So 3 party members is usually what you use, and then you have like another team of 3 that you rotate depending on what's going on. So with that being said, let's jump in and let's talk about this. Where do you get this? You go to the exchange shop, metal exchange, and it's the 3rd tab. So far, the only way to get these medals is through the new tower that's currently here for the 1st year anniversary. First 50 floors plus the missions gave you 200, and the rest of the 50 floors I'm assuming is going to give you another 100 because the missions aren't being updated, maybe less, or if they do update the missions, maybe more. So with that being said, one thing you need to realize is there's stat sticks, and every single one of these weapons, if you use the character, they will change the tide of the battle. Like Glenn, I'm going to rank him somewhere low, but in a moment where your healer doesn't have enough ATB to raise your magic defense, or your sub DPS can't do it because they just finished completing an action, none of these ultimate weapons have ATB. So in the heat of the hardest battle you're doing, and you're about to die because an attack's going to come and your healer can't cast magic defense up, what comes in clutch? Glenn is your DPS. He now casts magic defense all, and that way your party survives. So that could be the difference of you winning or you losing. But these are very niche moments, this is like this one quest where I do need it versus overall use. And again, these things are only cast one time through the whole entire fight, so you can't rely on them. All of them are great R abilities or ultimate abilities, but they're only used once versus weapons that let you use all through the party, all through the quest. So there's a difference when you can only cast these once. They look amazing, but it's a one-time deal. So very big moments like that, these will shine. Every single one of these are going to have that moment, and I'm not going to really include that in the tier list. I'm going to give them an overall use versus this, during this one quest, this is going to happen. That doesn't give it an A ranking or an S ranking. With that being said, you get the idea, right? No matter what, you're getting stats off of this, the R abilities out of this, and you're getting some sort of form of utility and damage. So these are all good. All of them are good. Some shine better than others, but that's because some characters are built different than others, right? The healers have the most support. They'll change the ties because they're making things work, while the DPS goes unga boonga. So let's talk about starting with Cloud, and I'll be doing a tier list off of the tier list website. I like doing the last video that way, so we're going to continue. We're going to start with Cloud. Cloud is going to A rank, and the reason I'm giving Cloud an A rank is because he is everyone's main DPS. The R abilities, the stats are going to increase that, plus you can brand ultimate weapons, making a very good jump to any character's damage. But what does it do? The reason this isn't higher on the list is because it lowers the enemy's physical attack and magic attack for 30 seconds, and most enemies are immune to that, right? But when they're not immune to that, your DPS having all of this plus 1,000 damage and lowering the enemy's attack during big moments like I talked about makes this a really good one because of who the character is and what it does. So being able to double utility damage is honestly A rank worthy when I look at overall of all these weapons. Next up is Barrett. Barrett is going to be low on the tier list, and the reason I say that weirdly is because, like I said, like Glenn, he can change the tide, right? A rank, but for the most part, C rank. I don't think anything really hits a D rank here, but it's C rank because physical defense is increased all allies for 20 seconds and a little small heal, so non-existent. Our abilities are great for anyone, defense, HP, but when you're using him as a healer, he already has his assault gun, which raises physical defense high in one cast. And the only time I see this useful is a one-time use. Remember this, is that when it does work, it's during that behemoth fight. So when the behemoth in floor 70 or whatever floor it is in the battle tower, there's so much defense down that you don't have enough ATB to continuously reapply that defense up. So between those attacks, you can raise your defense if it looks like you're about to die, and then Barrett recasts his physical defense with his ATB. So it's not that great. Most situations, you're already raising your defense, so that puts it on a C tier rank. Next up is Tifa. Now, Tifa, for me personally, and I know this is going to sound weird, this is one of the lower ones. It's not that impressive. It's going to go to C. It can be a B, but it's going to be a C. And the reason it's C is because there is no real moment for this to work. One, she has her own gloves that already buff her fully. Two, the parties now have AoE buffs, or Yuffie does double buffs, so both her and the DPS already get fully buffed, right? The only time this works is like stuff like Vincent or Sephiroth's new Genji blade that give them extra high attack, right? So they get tier 4, which nothing else casts at, and you can't really do it again because they're so unique to a weapon or a limit break, where this will add another 30 seconds. It extends it by 30 seconds. So in moments like that, yes. Besides that, this will never become viable, especially if you're doing a physical build and Aerith casts AoE physical. You already have physical attack up, which this is invisible. It makes sense for when you use your limit break because it applies magic attack and physical attack, right? But that's only for those one little bit moments here and there. So overall, it's not that great because these two are here. So this is really only 1,000 damage and nothing else, because your party already takes care of that for themselves. AoE buffers, their limit breaks, so on and so on. So Tifa doesn't get too high of a ranking. Next up is Aerith. Aerith, you guys already know, she's one of the best things in the game when it comes to just changing everything. She goes to S tier rank, and I think it's pretty obvious why she goes to S tier rank. She has a magic heal cast of 50%, and she has regen while removing physical attack down, magic attack down, all allies. So this is going to be in plenty of quests over and over, and the enemy can't stop you from removing your debuffs, but it can stop you from debuffing them. So anything that's always to the self of the party is very powerful. So having regen and a little space heal for those moments, which is a lot of moments of us almost nearly dying and the healer has no ATB or no backup, this is going to come in clutch many times. So I think Aerith is definitely deserving of that S rank compared to the other weapons here. Now we got Red 13, which he's not really a healer. You can build him as a healer, but because of where he is, I would say Red 13 ranks more in B. Now, it could be a lot more because this is all he has right now. Compared to the other ones, though, if you're going to use your coins, he will change it a little bit, but a regen with a very small heal, and you have to force build him into healing to make that second part work, is not going to really work out. So even say C tier, but because he's using all the hard content and all you have to do is put magic attack down, some defense, right? He can build healing in the back with survivability and that way help the healer. But it bounces back and forth to this B or C. So just because it's the only one he has right now, we have no other choice but to give him that. And compared to the other ones, it still is going to be useful because Red 13 is always there just to support a little bit of healing, a little bit of attack down, so on and so on. He's not really built for much more at the moment. Now, when it comes to Yuffie's, Yuffie is, I'm going to say this very sparingly, is a very B or C. So I'm going to put her currently right now in the C rank because it is a greedy DPS, right? So 1,000 damage, like everything I said. Physical attack is increased high, magic attack is increased high, and that's it. Once again, if you're a healer or her other weapons like the Arctic Star is already buffing to maximum, then this is nothing. It's just 1,000 damage and it's only damage. And it's an only one-time use. So this is not going to change the tides of a battle. It's not going to really help. Of course, having self-damage and self-buffing is good, especially when your healer doesn't have that special Monster Hunter weapon. But future weapons will come out. You see a lot more characters casting AoE buffs up. So it's not terrible. It just doesn't apply to everybody. And the reason I'm giving it a C ranking is because there is one that's kind of worthy of a B ranking compared to her. Now, next up is Cait Sith. Cait Sith is a little weird here. And I'm going to say this is in the right team, an A tier weapon. But even in any team, if Cait Sith is being used as your buffer, healer, or just you need those limit breaks and it works for that party, it works really well, especially for Vincent. This is A. Besides that, this is mostly a B tier because it's only that one time, 30%, and most of the time our summons already have that. But with the right party, like I said, which Cait Sith is usually in the right party, making it more of a B tier because it will change the tides depending on what's happening. And it's more unique than just raising your defense because no other weapon in the game allows you to increase. And what does it do? It increases your character or any character in the party 30% limit gauge up. And you already know that Barrett has limit gauge up. Also, it has a buff and debuff extension, which Cait Sith is built around that. So that's a really good weapon, even if it's not used with Vincent. Who's up next? Vincent's straightforward. This is an S tier weapon to go for. Again, all these weapons are S tier during your fights, but when it comes to his kit, being able to increase 40% limit gauge. If he gets his ultimate off, which does a ton of damage, but also gives him tier 4 buffing, and he does that multiple times in a battle, right? So 1, naturally grows, and 2, it speeds it up by 40% for the second limit break. It makes Vincent very powerful until we get natural tier 4 buffs from buffers or self-buffing. So right now, this is a game changer when it comes to Vincent because his does take quite a while to build up because every weapon gives a little bit. So almost half a limit gauge on a DPS like Vincent. Highly recommend that's one of yours if Vincent's your DPS. Next up, we got Zack's. Now, Zack is going to be pushed around to the A tier, and that's because he brings utility along with DPSing. So we're going to put him right beside Cloud's, and I would say he's probably a little bit better than Cloud because what's he going to do? He's going to do 1,000 damage, physical defense is decreased, and magic defense is decreased. I would say Cloud is still better because it can stop you from dying, stopping the enemy from buffing too much, where this will apply defense down both, which is going to be really good when all the party members are using their limit breaks, when you're about to do your big damage, when other people are going to use their ultimate weapons that are really, really strong. It's going to give them full defense down while he's also doing damage, which changes the tide for a lot. So a lot of these ultimate abilities are going to be cast, and then use your limit breaks. And that's one of them that's going to be pre-casted and then helping the entire party's DPS. Putting this in A rank because Zack is a very solid DPS. So it works for his kit very well. Next up, we got Sephiroth's. Now, Sephiroth is just DPS. If the enemy has a debuff, it does more DPS. So in my opinion, it is good for what he is. He is just a DPS, but it doesn't help with the party like these two up here who are doing DPS. I'm going to put it high tier, like a B+, just because that's what Sephiroth's kit is. It is damage, but it won't change the tide. It's just like your DPS has more overboosting than your other characters. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of damage, but it's just damage. So I'm going to put it over here at B. And the way it works, again, if I didn't say it, defense, if there's a debuff on the enemy, he does 3,000 potency, which is really big and a good utility, good attack up. So overall, it's a good weapon, just doesn't change the tide like other weapons. So for a tier list of what you're going to grab, that's at a B. Next up is Glenn. Now, I talked about Glenn already. Having your DPS, or if he ever becomes more of a utility character, being there, it's in the C rank. It's going to be that niche moment, one-time cast, and most likely your healer or your other sub DPS is already raising that magic defense. So it doesn't really do much when we already have so much AoE physical defense up and magic defense up. So magic defense, all allies for 20 seconds and a heal, and he's not a healer. So not going to really do much in the ultimate ability section. So Glenn is going pretty low. Here's another Matt, another S rank choice. And I'm going to put that over here because Matt is very unique. He finally brings a solution to healers having the issue of healing party members that have too much HP. He restores 25% of max HP. So if a character has 10,000 HP, he'll restore 2,500. Doesn't seem like much. But when our characters start going to 20,000 HP, he's now healing way more, which is more significant than what's currently happening. At the moment, it is not really crazy. Some of our weapons can heal more than that. Even if you have 20,000 HP, you're going to be restoring 5,000, right? So It is something that's unique, but it's not the only thing that's part of this. So this scales the stronger our HP gets, which means it has longevity, but it also has all allies get a regen, removes physical defense down, and defense down on our allies. So again, if the enemy is about to do their big move, they just finished debuffing us and our ATB is not high, he removes all those defense downs, and then we can cast a defense up. So it's a very good game-changing weapon, and it has so much to it that it belongs in the S tier because that can change the game in multiple ways. Last up, we have Lucia. Lucia, for me, is one of those ones that I talked about how it can be C tier, but it belongs in B tier compared to like Yuffie's, and that's because it's the same thing. Physical attack is increased, magic attack is increased, a little heal, and that's it. But she comes with a buff debuff extension, making this almost 1 minute worth of a buff and also extending. So again, self DPSing, being able to buff yourself is great. If this was only to herself, this would be down in the C tier because our healers and everything already do this, but she can cast this on Vincent and Sephiroth and keep their extra high tier buff going. So in a way, if she is in your party and you're using her for whatever, DPSing or utility, being able to extend those tier 4 buffs means more damage overall, changing the quickness of how fast the battle goes so you can beat those death counters, right? The enemy's about to do their big move because you didn't DPS fast enough. Besides that, that's why it teeters between a B and C, because our healers already and sub DPSs already give some form of attack up and magic attack up. So it's not that great. It only is a little bit greater because you can cast it on anyone else. So that is what the tier list looks like. In the end, all of these are stat sticks for utility, stats, our abilities. You can use whatever one you want, but when I come to prioritizing, these three up here change these three characters' kits a lot and help the party way much. You can even say like Vincent's an A tier because again, it's greediness, but it's unique enough that you don't have any other weapons that can do that. Same thing with Cait Sith. He can be right up here because there's no other characters that do that 30% increase in limit gauge, but for the most part, when we need our summons and limit breaks, they're ready. Overall, it does matter what I say here. Some of these are slightly wrong, and I know they're slightly wrong because there's certain situations and a lot more things are gonna come, but this is like the first look at what's happening for ultimate weapons. So it's make your choice. All of these are gonna have a situation, and some of you guys are gonna build teams that work and make these look like they're all S tier. So just do it. Just use whatever one is the character you use. All of these are great. It's a new addition to the game. This tier list is sort of not necessary. I just want to explain where each character's kit works with it. The tier list is just a visual of like, this one's a little bit more important than this one. And in the end, they're all gonna work because it's a new slot. It gives new stats, it gives new abilities, and every character is missing one. As we get more down the line, I'll make a different tier list, but fighting one character to another character, in the end, just use the character you have, that you worked on. That's it. Enjoy the tier list. Good luck on the ultimate weapons, and I hope you guys pull everything you guys want. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.